Now, we're looking at the idea of going into front triangles from a supine position. Previously, we looked at the idea of the clamp position. I want now to enlarge upon that and start to bring in the idea of wrist controls. Anytime someone is in my guard, a classic form of triangle entry from a closed guard situation comes out of double wrist control. This is a move which has been around for eons, and it's been very effective over the years. The idea is that if I have two of my training partner's wrists, I can push one wrist under the other and create a temporary situation where I have the one in, one out. If I were to throw my legs up at this point, now one arm would be outside my triangle and one arm would be inside, and from here I could go in and work. Okay, it's one of those old venerable moves of the sport, which to this day can still have some success. But in truth, I've never really been a big fan of double wrist control to a triangle for an obvious reason. It does nothing whatsoever to control my opponent's posture. So there's a degree to which it relies on the naivety or the laziness of my opponent to be effective. Okay, if I have both of my training partner's wrists and he's alert to the idea of a triangle, as I push in, he should be posturing up, and that will make it very difficult for me to get into an effective triangle. What's required here is that my opponent stay down in a position where from here I can get my knee over his shoulder. Remember, anytime you go to penetrate with the foot over the shoulder, my knee, the hollow of my knee, must go at least as high as the shoulder to make for an effective lock. If my opponent postures up at the exact moment that I push in the wrist, now I'm only going ankle deep, and as a result, no triangle. Because of this, I've always greatly preferred collar tie and wrist over double wrist ties. What I like to do is to go in and secure my opponent's one wrist by going across and feeding his wrist with my bicep. Okay, so he has double biceps here. I put my hand in and I feed his wrist using my bicep so I can go 2-on-1. Now, once I get the 2-on-1 grip, I take my hand inside Mateus's, and then from here I pull him with my legs a little and I take collar tie and single wrist. My left arm has the inside position. My elbow is inside Mateus's elbow. When he goes to posture up, it's almost impossible to get away from that collar tie. It's there for a long enough period of time to go into a triangle. Now, make a strong arm. From here, I'm going to physically push his wrist into his sternum. Now from this position, sorry buddy, from this position here, we're going to take our leg and go over the top of our training partner's leg. My second foot goes on my training partner's hip, and that gives me the height to go knee deep up to my training partner's neck. When he goes to yank away, you have the collar tie and you're sufficiently far over the neck to ensure that you get a good bite on that initial triangle entry. Now, as always from here, the hand goes all the way through in front, and we're in the perfect position to control his posture, bring that wedge in behind his head, and then lock up the figure of 4 in a way where we go directly into the stranglehold. Once again, we start off like so. I bring my hand in and I feed his wrist to my wrist, and we go 2-on-1. From the 2-on-1, I bring his hand down to the floor, secure the collar tie, and then we start an action of pushing in on our training partner's arm. Now from here, I split my legs and throw my leg knee deep over his collar. When he goes to yank out, it's surprisingly difficult because of the simple collar tie that I have. Now, as always from here, we bring our hand through as a scoop grip, and we start that action of bringing our lower back up off the floor. With an advantageous angle like this, it's very easy for us to wedge around our training partner's head and shoulders, and then from this position, locking the figure of 4 creates an immediate strangulation. As always, the knee points in at the crotch. My strangle knee is lower than his ear, and when he tries to pull away from me, it's shockingly difficult. And from here, the strangle comes on immediately.